Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night once again to all of you in YouTube land. So, um, as you can see by the uh, picture right there, and of course the name of the video, this is about Marvel's The Runaways, which I just watched the last episode of like 15 minutes ago. So, kind of fresh. I know maybe I should take some time to marinate on this, but um, I've watched the series over the last couple days, so I think that's given me a little thought and perspective on it. Anyways, but first of all, I have to say, okay, I've always heard great things about the Runaways, which of course I believe there are a few videos from when the trailers for Runaways came out. That it was such an awesome comic series and everything, but I had never read it. I mean, I read the synopsis of it, and I had seen them in some other comics, Avengers and whatever, but I didn't know a lot about the Runaways as far as their history and everything. And then, of course, not long ago, got that. This, if you have not read the Runaways, this is Volume One collection of the first series, Volume One, as it is the first 18 issues that were made. Awesome read. It's an amazing comic, which we'll get into the story of, and of course compare it with the series a little bit. So I highly recommend Runaways if you have not read it before, or if you only kind of know fringe things about the Runaways. Anyways, so when the trailer came out, I thought it looked sort of interesting, and then like seeing these posters, yeah, right there, that I mean I think for character posters are really well done, and I'm just gonna overlay this over my face for a second so y'all could see a little more as I'm talking. I think it really kind of gives you an idea of what you're gonna expect or who these characters somewhat are, whether you know anything about them or not. Because again, you see the fist there in the corner. That's Molly. Next to her, the glowing hand, Carolina. The tablet, that's Alex, the character of Alex Wilder. The hand with the tail around it is Gert, and the tail belongs to Old Lace, a velociraptor, kind of like a velociraptor dinosaur. In the middle, you see a wand, which belongs to Nico, and finally the glove, the Fistagon, which belongs to Chase. Again, as we will get into them more in a moment. All right, so first of all, the series as a series, I thought was quite well done. Very entertaining. I think it had a good little bit of character development. I mean, for what it was. Again, as we'll talk more as far as in compared to the comic, of course, I would have liked a little more character development, and there's deviation. But again, any TV or movie adaptation of a property, be it a comic, a novel, manga, or whatever, um, there will be changes and liberties, and there are some in here, for better or worse. But overall, I would say it's a good show. Very good show. That was well done. Like I said, we have our main cast of characters. Again, as I named, you have Alex, who's, I guess you could say, almost like the most human of the Runaways. I mean, he's just a kid who's in the comics. We say he's a bit of a prodigy. He's a genius. But then you have next in line Chase, who's kind of a jock, but he's a smarty. The one that had the Fistigons. So of course, from the posters, you can guess there might be some. He's mechanically inclined. Gert, who has a psychic connection to Old Lace, the dinosaur, which the effects for Old Lace I thought were very well done, actually. There were one or two shots that were kind of like, but overall, I'm guessing that, of course, CG, obviously, and then, they use some practical there, because, when you see her filling on, like, rubbing Old Lace's head at times, I mean, you just get that sense of kind of touch, which and some things when CGI and there's nothing there, you can kind of tell it's just kind of floaty, if that makes any sense. But anyways, so well, let me pull this up first. It's a picture from the comic and the cast of stuff. So I don't know why I didn't pull this up a minute ago. So again, all right. So we'll start from left to right. So like I said, Gert, who has a psychic connection to her Velociraptor, which were genetically engineered by her parents. Nico, who kinda in the series, kind of magical. I mean, in the comics, she's a witch, or her family are magical, and her weapon, if you will, her main thing is an item called the Staff of One, which again, if you look at any pictures from the comics or even the show stills, you'll see she has the Staff of One. Again, as I said, Alex, who's um, the most human non-combatant, other than just being really smart, if you will. Chase, Jock, who's really an intellect, but mechanically inclined. His parents are, of course, inventors. Carolina, who they haven't defined her, I guess, in this first season, really what she is. And I like the effects for Carolina. I mean, as far as the way she looks, the little bit that we saw of it. Um, and of course, I'll put it in the title here. But there's going to be some spoilers here, be it from the comic or from the show. So, uh, overall, the sparkly rainbow effect on her, I thought was pretty well done, especially as it went further on in the series. Now, when it came to flying, which one time she flew or floated, um, that looked really kind of CGE to me, kind of more like Superman 1978 to me. But maybe that's just me. But again, this is a TV show on a streaming service, so I'm sure their budget was, well, again, it's not Netflix. Hulu is doing, I'm sure, some great stuff. This is actually my first Hulu series, Hulu watch, and I'm probably checking out Handmaid's Tale next. But I'm sure in comparison, their budgets haven't been as big as Netflix. But again, a budget is, you can do lots of things with a budget. Anyways, and last we have Molly. Um, in the show, Hernandez. In the uh, comic, Hayes. And as you can see, I mean, I think the cast resemble their characters somewhat. I mean, the guys playing Chase, Greg Sulkin, is a bit different from Chase in the comics. But the rest of them, I think, are pretty spot on cast. And Molly, I don't know why they chose to change her ethnicity, or maybe for, I hate to put it this way, for ethnicity's ethnic sake. I mean, it is a little bit a diverse cast of characters. I mean, of course, you have black guy and Asian girl, but as the rest were white, I guess maybe they figured with Molly's they'd add a little more representation, which, I mean, not mad. I can understand that. That's our main cast of protagonists, if you will. Um, Now we will get to the Pride, which is their parents. And Runaways, again, just a brief explanation. Uh, Basically, it's about the core team, the Runaways, these 6 kids who come to find out that their parents are part of an evil organization called the Pride. As you see here, there are 12 of them. In the series, that's not the case. There's only, I guess you could say, so minus 2. So, yeah, there are 10, kind of 11 quasi, of them. Which is one of the criticisms I will get to in a minute. But they find out their parents basically run are the Pride, an evil organization that front as a humanitarian group that, for lack of a better word, like all evil organizations, are bent to rule or destroy the world. As those who read the comics, will find out the Pride actually are the tool, if you will, of a group of ancient monsters, god-like figures called the Gibberim, as you see them here. I mean, if you were to see in comparison contact, they're like huge giants. Um, so, which I know is a really fantastical, weird thing, but of course, comics, it works. But in the realm of TV, I guess they figured that was too fantastical, or again, that would have required a budget much larger than they figured they have. In the TV series, The Pride are, again, basically the same. I mean, a humanitarian group, but the Gibberim, instead of being these ancient god creatures, is the name of a church, which Carolina's mother, Mrs. Bean, is the head of. Um, Now, there there's some drastic differences between the comic and the show. Um, that I really wondered why they had to make them. And again, full disclosure, I understand when you have to make um, a adaptation of something's got to change. But these things are about to go over. I didn't really understand why they had to change them. But anyway, so here we go. Uh, so the Wilders, Alex's parents, pretty much the same as they're depicted in the comics. Basically, his father's a crime lord, and the human of the group, and he's a crime lord, and that was great. And I love the way the actors portrayed that. Like I said, next we'll take Gert's parents, who in the comic are time travelers, actual time travelers that get stuck in our present. Um, Here, I guess they're just scientists in the show. They still, genetically engineer old lace. Where, if I remember right in the comic, well, I remember right, I just read it. They're from old lace was genetically engineered in the future. I think it was the 87th century. But anyway, so I thought that that was one of the first changes. I thought having still those elements, even though they're fantastical, would have been cool. But I guess, again, they wanted to bring it more down to earth. And, again, making them all these archetypes that I'll explain does kind of, again, I guess, lend to more money, maybe possible for certain effects or whatnot. Even though in, the comic, it's not like they go travel through time a lot and extra effects or anything. But um, then you have, like I said, Carolina's, Lucy in the Sky is her codename, parents who they are actually aliens, hence Carolina is an alien. And I mean, they're actors, they're aliens, but they're actors, in the world, famous and whatnot. So in the series, her mom is the head of the Church of Gibberin, which again, seems like, your culty type thing. Um, Her dad, who again in the comic they're both aliens. In this, I guess, well, both her parents in this are human. They, which at first I was kind of trying to figuring it out as when they do reveal her powers and everything. It's like, so okay, is her mother still an alien? They revealed that, but whereas there's a character that's introduced in this show called Jonah, who turns out to be her father. I mean, again, not in the comics at all. Um, at least not in the first collection, unless it was in one of the later iterations of it that I haven't read yet. But yeah, I just didn't understand why they had to change that. I mean, again, it's a very simple premise. You have these six couples that are doing this thing for what they think is the ultimate right for their children, because only yeah, back to the Gibberin, basically. So in the comics, the Giants, you know, their plan is they collect this power and then they will basically destroy the world, destroy society to bring it back, if you will, to a new world. As in Native American and many other lores, the world has gone through cycles, beginnings and ends. So that's kind of where the Gibberim where they're at and their thing. And of course, the Pride does their bidding to get them, makes the sacrifices and whatnot to give them the energy from the souls that they need to be able to achieve this. Um, so, uh, but in this, like I said, instead of the couple of Carolina's parents who are aliens being just her parents, who happen to be actors in this world as their cover and everything, and hence she is a full-blooded alien, I suppose. Um, both of her parents are human, and it's this Jonah, who I guess is actually the alien, so Caroline is half alien. Um, just that, I was just really wondering why they had to change that element. But okay, on to Nico Minoru's parents, as you can see in the picture, the two in the red get-ups, I believe, yes. Um, kind of again the robes like an Asian influence. They are witches, mystical elements, which the Marvel Cinematic Universe has introduced with Doctor Strange. I mean, again, with Thor, there was the whole concept magic is just science that we don't understand, which can be said of many things, but then we have like hardcore magic in Doctor Strange. So, and supposedly, from what I've heard, Runaways is supposed to be exist in the MCU. So I'm still trying to understand that, or if they'll show any references. There might have been an Easter egg that I missed, and I'll go through watch some other reviews and shows, and maybe I'll catch that. But yeah, so they're witches, and I thought, of course, still having that flavor of magic in this would work as well. Whereas the way her mother explains it, the staff of one, well, which isn't called the staff of one, uh, which literally, from what from when I've read the first volume, basically, I guess the staff of one can only perform a single incantation. I mean, can only perform an incantation once, and then it always has to be something different. It can be something similar, but it has to be different because it can never repeat the same exact one. That was the feeling I got from the comic. But whereas this is just, I guess, as her parents in this are just tech moguls, and they created the staff of one. Um, so, which magically, I mean, responds to their thoughts and makes things happen. As Nico in the series even says, her mother's like, no, it's science, yada 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 yada. She was like, well, it read my thoughts and made something happen. That's magic. So we'll leave it at that. Then you have the Steins, which are Chase's parents, Mr. Stein actually created the Fistigons in the comic, whereas in the series, if you've watched this, and hopefully you've already watched it, um, it's an idea, I guess, apparently that Chase has had, and then he works on with his father as kind of a bonding thing, and anyways, but, again, kind of like the Yorks, Gert's parents, they're scientists, where Gert's parents are from the future, or time travelers. They're just really intelligent human beings, and they're I guess they are in the series. They, I guess, made a lot of them tech people. I mean, again, Victor Stein, the Yorks are doctors, just regular doctors, as opposed to the time traveling doctors in the comic, and they made, again, the Minoru's tech people as well. So I guess that they wanted to make that the solution for everything tech. um, anyways, okay, and then lastly we have the Hayes, which are Molly Hayes' parents, who in the comic she's the pull the picture up for a second again, the little brunette with the pink bandana on her hair. I believe she's 11, about to turn 12 in the comic, whereas in this I think she's, 12, 13. Well, supposedly, I mean, the actress looks They even reference she is younger than them, but I mean, looks about the same age as the rest of them. But anyway, um, so her parents are mutants, which of course there's the whole uh, Marvel Fox deal. I mean, where there has been, whereas mutants, the word mutant itself, and mutants, you think of the X-Men and whatnot, have been the domain of Fox, as they have the rights to the characters for theatrical and television, I believe. Well, television was kind of a mixed bag that they had to get permission from Marvel or something like that. Anyways, which again, as far as other Marvel shows on TVs, I mean, Fox, Legion, excellent. Check out Legion. Um, and now, like The Gifted, I like The Gifted quite well. And as far as the Fox related shows. But again, even though it's on Hulu, Runaways is, I believe, a Marvel Studios, Marvel proper, if you will, Disney Marvel um, show property, kind of like the the Marvel shows on Netflix: Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Defenders. So, anyways, and hence, again, supposedly part of the MCU from what I heard beforehand. So, hence, they could not use the word mutants if they wanted to, and that's one thing. As far as, even though I think there's a bit of, there was decent or just enough character development, again, to get to know these characters as we do for the beginning of the series. Um, Molly's powers, I want to say, well, at first weren't addressed at all since, okay, and excuse me, I'm rambling. I need to plan these things more out better. But anyways, again, in the comic, her parents are mutants, hence they pass it on to her. They're telepaths in the comic, and then she has super strength. But in this show, there's no indication. Her parents are dead in this show. Spoilers. But I mean, that's established in the first episode, which was another thing I didn't quite get why there was the need of that, and then to put her with Gertrude's family, with the Yorks. I guess maybe this, like I said, give them kind of a sisterly thing, but again, something I thought was kind of unnecessary. I do understand there's very small subplot of, okay, who killed them, which is, revealed at the very end of the series as being Mrs. Dean. Again, who's totally human in the show. She just happens to be in love with the alien. Anyways, um, but yeah, so there's that, and there was in this show, Mrs. Dean caused an accident which caused the um, Hayes in the comic, or Hernandez's in the TV show lab to explode. Yet again, more science. Which again, I'm a science geek. I love science, but again, this is a Marvel property, a comic too. I'm like, so why did they have to take away all the extra spice elements? But anyway, um, you know, before they were, I guess the Hernandezes were studying these rocks, which apparently are at the bottom of this pit that Jonah, maneuvered them all into digging up as the pride's whole plan, which will lead to devastation. So that's still there, even though it didn't seem like it for a lot of the series. But I guess that was still the ultimate plan. Um, there were these weird kind of glowing living rocks that little Molly, I guess she was like maybe 3 or something, was playing with when this explosion happened. So I guess that's their explanation as to why she has super strength or is able to harness it. I don't know. Hopefully with a series 2 or season 2, excuse me, I keep forgetting, in the UK it's series, not season, but a season 2 or series 2, if anyone across the pond is watching this, um, of Runaways. Hopefully that'll be one of many questions I hope they kind of answer. Um, and for those who have read the comic, which the comic basically kind of loosely adapts, or further adapts, if you will, things from issues 1 through 6, as I realized as I was just looking through it before I decided to make this, which is basically just the intro to the characters. They find out what's happening, yada yada yada. Ending, which I was very happy about, both in the comic and in the series, the Pride framing their children for the murder of Destiny Gonzalez, the girl who was murdered at the very beginning of the series and comic, which starts this all off when they discover it, um, and saying they kidnapped Molly. So I thought that was really awesome that they did bring that. And as I wish I had a picture to bring it up to in comparison, but near the like I said, the last episode, their disguises or change of clothes or whatever, Carolina's, Nico's, are very reminiscent of their clothes in the comics that you see. So that was a cool little Easter egg, and I like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, I love the depiction of the kids in the Runaway. I thought the Pride was done okay, even though I don't understand the need for offing one set of parents, other than I guess to establish Mrs. Dean has been evil or utterly devoted to uh, Jonah. Which Jonah, I will say, Julian McMahon, love seeing him. From Charm, I believe Cole was his name, because many years ago I watched it, but Cole from Charm and Doctor Doom in the first two Fantastic Four movies. Not the Roger Corman one, if I'm not counting that. But the first two ones with Jessica Alba, Chris Evans as the Human Torch. And, I love him as an actor. He plays bad so good. So it was interesting to see him in this role they created, Jonah, who is Carolina's father. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, the Pride themselves, okay. The kid's great. The whole making Jonah thing up, I didn't quite get. As well as there's another. Yeah, the other point I was gonna make is just that there's also a subplot about um, Nico having a sister, Amy, that um, had died of apparent suicide, which of course we find out later was not a suicide. It was yet something again that kind of lies at the feet of Mrs. Dean indirectly through um, Julie McMahon's character. Like I said, the more I think about it, again, the show in itself, yeah, I think it's really good, especially, and if you have never read the comics, I think it's a good place to start off for, and would make you appreciate the comics more. But since I did go ahead and read it, I just, I just wonder why they took the liberties. But still, overall, I would say it's a good show. Anyone who is a fan of the characters in general, um, comics in general, or like I said, just good. It's a good teen drama, but I mean, not over the top. Of course, again, if you're watching this, I'm hoping you've watched the show already. Spoilers, in the comics, of course, is hinted and, basically, well, directly, that, Gert is interested in Chase, and then Carolina is interested in Nico, and of course, they have to have their teen moments of make out, kissing, yada yada yada. So I was just like, ah, but at the same time, normal teen tropes. But I mean, it is again for a teen show about superheroes or soon to be superhero kind of the Runaways. It's very very well done, and I very much look forward to a second season. So that being said, now I just want to add on a little comments about Cloak and Dagger. So, another Marvel show coming out soon is Cloak and Dagger, which is going to be on Freeform. And the reason that I bring it up in this video is, in the Runaways, after the first 6 issues, which I said as these 10 episodes of the series kind of roughly something happens, and after they are framed for murder, in which Cloak and Dagger are called in to it, as you can see. And again, Cloak and Dagger, I don't know their story as well as I probably should, as long as I've known the characters. But it's been more in other things, mainly Spider-Man related or X-Men. The characters, Cloak, the female, the male with the cloak, and Dagger, the female. Cloak is connected to a force called the Dark Force Dimension, which allows him to teleport. That's, I guess, his main thing. I know there's some other abilities inherent, but that's the main one I know of. And Dagger, as you see in the picture, is able to generate daggers or blades of light, which also have a purifying effect. So, anyways, as they are brought in, and this is another Marvel series, Marvel Disney, and like I said, it's going to be on Freeform, which is what used to be ABC Family, ABC, which is owned by Disney. I wonder if there will be any crossover between the two, because I think that would be really awesome. Now, in the comic, of course, Cloak and Dagger have been around for a long time. They've been in the superhero game for a long time. And by the way, they are Runaways themselves. I mean, that is in terms of this group, Runaways, but in their past, they were Runaways. They had their problems, and then they got their powers, and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, so, and I think that's one of the main reasons they brought them into the comics, because they can, as someone who could relate to our team of misfits, if you will. But as I said, so obviously they couldn't do, like in the comic, a police officer who was, of course, on the Pride's payroll, called them in to help find and apprehend the kids. But as this is a new series where these kids are just going to meet for the first time, of course, their origin and discover their powers and whatever their season entails, which I'm very interested to see how that plays out. You wouldn't have that same aspect of these veterans coming in. If they were to have someone to fill that role in the following season of Runaways, it would be more likely to be like an Avenger, but again, like an Avenger is going to show up on this show. I mean, the Avengers won't even show up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, the whole thing from the beginning is all connected, and I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's gotten better and better, and actually I have an episode from Friday I need to watch shortly, that and X-Files. But, again, there's so much potential, so much they could do with this show going forward, and I do hope that they keep to some of the elements of the comic, i.e., like, in the next issue after they're framed for this murder, Chase has this place called the Hostel, which they end up going to stay at, their little hideout. So that would be interesting to see if they do something like that. But again, like I said, you're going to have elements like Cloak and Dagger in the comics, a vampire comes in and stuff, which I doubt they're going to bring that into the series. Would be cool if they did. But, as again, I guess this is more real world. But, I mean, I think there's still a lot of potential for things that could go on in the show. One in itself contained by the narrative of the characters. And then if we do get some indication that it is connected to the Marvel Universe, even if it's in a loose way, like the Netflix shows are connected, but it's in a loose way, that, all you ever hear is the Battle of New York, or you hear references to, Captain America, the flag waver, the big green guy, or, having an iron suit or a magic hammer or whatever, which again, I still don't understand why they don't use more direct references. But I guess, like, as opposed to S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 and 2, they don't want it to be bashing you over your I digress. Complete sidetrack. Runaways, great show. Watch it. I look forward to Cloak and Dagger to see what they bring out because other than Iron Fist, Disney Marvel has not completely let me down. I mean, they have not had a bad show. Could have been better. Defenders could have been better. Second half of Luke Cage could have been better, but they weren't terrible. Iron Fist was terrible. Okay, terrible. um, but yeah, like I said, Runaways is good. I mean, I know they're a Fox division of Marvel, but in cooperation with Marvel. Like I said, Legion is awesome. Gifted, I love that. So I hope Cloak and Dagger is good. Can't wait for Runaways season 2, which I guess will be next year. That's the only thing I hate. I love streaming, and binging, but then waiting a whole freaking year. But anyways, that is my review, my thoughts. I'm sure there's many things I'm forgetting because I didn't really plan this out, just impromptu. Hey, let's do this. But anyways, if you liked it or have any suggestions as far as you've seen the series, what you think about it, or any other suggestions as far as if I do any more of these, or if you even like it, let me know. As always, I appreciate the viewage. Feel free to share, subscribe, hopefully like more than dislike. And thanks for those of y'all who have stuck with me